Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Kay, and in this presentation we will talk about the research design section of your study. The research design section is a central part of Chapter 3 and a critical piece of your methodology. In this presentation, we will first talk about the purpose of the research design section and why it matters in your study. Then we will look at the steps to organize and write this section, moving from identifying your design all the way through applying it to your study. Finally, we will go over some common mistakes and best practices so you can write this section with clarity and confidence. Now that we set the stage, let's focus on the research design section itself. Similar to the overall purpose of Chapter 3, the research design section answers the how of your study. It explains the type of design you are using, provides a rationale for why this design is the best fit, and shows how it connects to your research questions and study purpose. It also demonstrates the credibility of your choices by using scholarly definitions and citations. The first step in writing this section is to clearly identify your research design. As you open this section, state directly whether your study is qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. If needed, you can also specify a subtype, such as phenomenology, case study, correlational, or survey research. Keep this part simple and concise. For example, this study utilized the quantitative correlational design to examine the relationship between faculty workload and burnout levels. The next step is to explain your chosen design. Define the design in a paragraph or more and support your explanation with scholarly sources. Always prioritize primary sources or scholars who are well known for the design you are using. On this slide, you can see a few examples of a well-defined and well-explained research design. I would encourage you to pause the video and read each one. You can see how each example starts with a brief definition of the design, supported by citations from primary sources. Then the example connects that definition to the study context. In each, you can observe how the explanation is grounded in the literature and directly tied to the purpose of the study. Once you have explained your design, you need to justify why it is the best fit for your study. This is where you connect the definition and purposes of the design directly to your problem, purpose, and research questions. You may also briefly note why other designs were not appropriate, but do not spend too much time focusing on other options. The goal here is to show that your choice was the most logical and rigorous way to answer your questions. Finally, apply the design to your specific study. This is where you move from general definitions into describing how you use the design in practice. Link the design directly to your data collection methods and analysis strategies and show how it helps you answer your research questions. On this slide, you can see several examples of how you can justify and apply your chosen research design. Again, I recommend pausing the video to read each one. You can notice how the examples explain why the design was the most appropriate choice and briefly note why other designs would not have worked. Then, in the application examples, you can see how the design is tied directly to data collection and analysis methods. In each case, the writing is specific, aligned with the study's purpose, and shows a clear connection to the research questions. This slide continues with additional examples from quantitative and mixed methods research. Just like before, I encourage you to pause and read through them. The same pattern applies here as well. Each example defines the design, connects it to the study, and shows how it fits with the research purpose and questions. This visual shows the 4 steps for writing your research design section. As we learned, you start by clearly identifying your design and then move into explaining it with definitions and citations. Following that, you justify why this design is the best fit for your study, and finally, you apply it by showing how the design connects directly to your data collection and analysis. Think of these steps as a sequence. Each one builds on the previous to create a clear and complete explanation of your research design. To conclude, let's go over some success tips and mistakes to avoid. When writing this section, think of it as 4 paragraphs: identify, explain, justify, and apply. As you organize these paragraphs, remember the funnel approach that we learned for Chapter 1. Start with general definitions from the literature and gradually narrow down to how the design fits your specific study. Some common mistakes in this section include having too many definitions without applying them to the study and making a clear connection to your study purpose and research questions. Another very common mistake is writing long sections about designs you did not choose. Always keep in mind that arguing against other designs is not sufficient to justify yours. Remember to avoid generic and vague statements that could apply to any study, such as the example on this slide. Restating the very definition of a research design does not justify its application or advantage for your study. As you write justification and application paragraphs, avoid statements that are too broad and don't demonstrate why the design truly fits your research. Thank you for watching this presentation on writing the research design. I hope this information helps you feel more confident as you draft Chapter 3 of your research study.